Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Karoline Leavitt drops an absolute bombshell on the White House press corps when it's revealed that Joe Biden's auto pen might have been abused and misused, rendering a whole lot of his decisions null and void. Let's dive in.
Sure, Caitlin.
I have two questions for you. One on the flights, but first on the president's post overnight, saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by auto pen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out.
Okay,
Sean.
on the flights, so I have a question on the timeline of the flights. You keep talking about the judge's written order, which hit the docket Saturday night at about 7:26 p.m. But he issued a verbal order before that at about 6:45 and 6:48 p.m. based on the court hearing. A verbal order from the bench. Does the White House feel the need to comply with a verbal order from this judge?
Again, as I said, all of the planes subject to the written order of this judge departed U.S. soil, U.S. territory before the judge's written order.
But what about the verbal order, which of course carries the same legal weight as a written order, and said for the planes to turn around if they were
Well,
in the air?
there's actually questions about whether a verbal order carries the same weight as a legal order, as a written order, and our lawyers are determined to ask and answer those questions in court.
Y'all, I don't think we fully understand just how big of a bombshell this really is. The whole idea behind this legal theory is the fact that if Joe Biden was not cognitively aware that he was signing orders, we can start looking into everything that bears a signature and start asking a whole lot of questions. So that's the huge cat that's now let out of the bag here, and that's going to be another monumental case. Again, just in a couple of days, we already have probably two big cases that might make it all the way up to the Supreme Court and ultimately become the law of the land. And so, when it comes to people just screaming about Trump is a dictator, Elon Musk has too much power, maybe in this situation it's good to push the boundaries, because you know that with a good court system, which we do have in this country, our federal court system is literally designed to make sure that Congress isn't going crazy and the president isn't going crazy, okay? Maybe they should have been able to protect us from a literally mentally impaired gentleman by the name of Joseph R. Biden from coming into the White House when it was proof positive that this dude pretty much didn't have much of his brain power left. I'm not saying that he was the level of mashed potatoes and that his brain's just a bunch of scrambled eggs, but he's not all there. We've known that he has not been all there, and it was apparent to the American people back when the debate occurred between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That was a disaster amongst all presidential disasters. I think that was probably the worst debate performance since Nixon sweated 5 pounds of sweat when he was debating John F. Kennedy. Man, that was something else, and I wasn't even around for that, obviously. But the reality is, this is a good thing for our country. We're pushing the boundaries to see what is and what isn't legal in terms of what is actually being signed. Auto pen is sort of a new thing for the White House and didn't start becoming a thing until George W. Bush, and no one has pushed back against this since those days. So it's been about 20 years since we've been using this. So it's a good idea to at least put forth the possibility that autopin is illegal. And if it's considered legal, well, no harm, no foul, nothing's going to happen. But if it's proven to be an illegal use, that the president must have his signature written on the document, then all of a sudden a whole lot of things are going to come back into question. And with the current makeup of the Supreme Court, that's going to be a very interesting question to ask. The Constitution, I don't think it really has an answer on that. Personally, I think it's your job as president. I don't think you should delegate to someone else. You need to be in D.C. in the White House, or at least someplace where the legal document comes to you and you sign off on it. That's what I think should happen here. And so the press pool really doesn't understand what's going on either, and they're sort of asking a bunch of really just mediocre questions, to which Karoline Leavitt quickly reminds Kaitlan Collins, and boy does she deserve it on this one, that maybe if you were a real reporter, you would have found the answer to that a while ago. I can't think of anyone more deserving. And so when it comes to this issue of autopin, the Heritage Foundation has had something called Project Oversight to make sure that we're actually following the Constitution. And Trump's comments come after the Heritage Foundation's oversight project suggested that an autopin had been heavily used during the Biden's White House tenure. We've already established this. It was pretty rampant. I mean, the dude could barely lick his ice cream cone. And we've gathered every document we could find with Biden's signature over the course of his presidency. All used the same autopin signature except for the announcement that the former president was dropping out of the race last year. Here is the autopin signature, the oversight project declared in post on X earlier this month. So apparently this has been brewing for a little while, and they've been waiting for the right time to use it. So there's going to be a whole lot of downstream effects from this. First off, there are the people that have been pardoned by the Biden administration preemptively. Guys like Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. Although Liz Cheney, there's a pretty darn good case to be made against her for tampering with witnesses in order to change the verdict. So that's going to be a problem. General Miley, oh boy, I believe he was the one that quite literally told the Chinese Communist Party that if Trump ever declares war against y'all, I'll give y'all a heads up. That's borderline traitorous right there. I think that's quite literally the definition of traitorous, okay? You didn't go through with it like Benedict Arnold, but the fact that you primed it up and planned it, oh boy, that's problematic, and I believe that there should be some minor consequences for that. So, the whole autopin idea ultimately comes down to the point where, is the president supposed to be literally signing these documents? I think this is going to go before a couple of courts, maybe all the way up to the Supreme Court for another landmark case. We're already forecasting a potential landmark case with the Mahmoud Khalil story, who looks like he's going to be kicked out of the country unless another judge says otherwise, because of let's see. There's a 1952 act, the Immigration and Nationality Act, I believe, or Naturalism Act, something along those lines. So forgive me for messing that up. But there was an act in 1952 that allows the State Department to kick out people with green cards or visas if they are acting against the interests of the United States. So that's two major court cases that are likely going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And now we're going to take a look, and a hard look, at what Joe Biden did with his autopin. Because if that's been declared illegal, oh boy, strap in. We are on a roller coaster ride, and boy, am I here for it. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.